you don't see them that often, otter. And it's an animal that you might say he's got his own, he's not his own world, he has to live in this one. But otter, he pretty well just hangs with himself, yeah. I had a chance to talk to my dad about him, and why is it that no other animal has anything said about it like an otter? He said, well, it's an animal all by itself.
The outflow to northern lakes rarely freeze over in winter. It's quite a remarkable phenomenon. And these open water areas right at the outflow and often downstream for a number of hundred meters are real hotspots for otter activity. The origin and destination of many otter travels over land and above ground come and go from these open water areas. The fact that these places do exist, they're relatively limited and rare across the landscape as a whole, means that they need some special protection.
When you respect things, you think of it. And they're tough little guys, boy. I don't think anything fools with them, really. I don't think the wolves do. They go and they travel these creeks and rivers, and they know all the little portages to go across to get to another lake or another open water place.
You know, when you track an animal, either an otter or a lynx or wolverine, you know, to me it's so revealing because it'll lead you to something. It'll be revealed to you what they do, right? You'll come to a place where they bedding or they had just killed a prey, you know, and it's not just a track, it's the pattern of the tracks. Because it's like following little ghosts. You're just underneath the ice and they're just heading up wherever to the next fishing holes is going to be, right? And it's very interesting that way. And there's like a compass in their head, you know, they just go straight. If there's lots of meanders in the creek, they'll know how to cross those. But they like to alternate between under the ice and over the ice travel and cut those meanders in the bush. And they're great in deep snow. Sometimes you lose them when you track them. Especially in early winter when it's deep, soft snow over covering willows, you know, bending them. You can't even snowshoe through there, but the others will come. They'll go right underneath this and you lose them like for 50 meters. It's easier for them, right, to go under that way.
And here we're situated right at the outflow of Tarfu Lake, and we have a wonderful ice edge here around an open water area, and there's some relatively fresh otter sign. The animals have hauled up onto the ice edge. There's actually a nice latrine right here. They probably brought a fish out, ate it, some of it there. They often have a latrine right along these ice edges. And those latrines, of course, are very specific to their winter activity, but they're the places where they're communicating and with one another about their reproductive status and their place in the world. I think otters are quite cautious animals when they're contemplating travel overland. Some of the footage we have from remote cameras shows the animals taking some time when they come out of the water, sniffing the air, really listening and really being thoughtful before they take off on any kind of overland trip. These areas of open water are pretty important for other animals too. We get American dippers, muskrats, beavers, all using these open water areas through the winter.
When you spend hours at the outflow, interestingly, they have a friend there. It's called the American dipper. And they're blackbird, and they live in the winter in the Yukon. And they're very neat to watch and listen to sometime. They will sing. They have a warble sound. And especially when the temperature changes from really cold to quite warm, that day they will just sing away. Sometimes two of them. It's just beautiful, you know. It echoes around the outflow and around there, and I think it's the most beautiful sound I ever heard in Yukon for a bird.
I seen that bird, and even in the cold weather, he'll go right underwater. Yeah, and then I don't know what he's got something on his feathers that water just literally don't stay on him, and I never did ask my dad about the name of it or why he's around there or.
And we're talking about middle of January or February, whenever there's a change in temperature, you know, from minus 25 to 0 plus 5 type of thing. Anyway, very nice to watch.
The really interesting thing here is that these areas stay open all winter. We have a current created by the downstream flow of the water going out of the lake, and that draws warmer water from the deeper layers in the lake towards the surface and keeps the water temperature above freezing. The densest water, of course, in the lake is about 4 degrees down at the bottom of the lake, and that's gradually being sucked up and pulled out through the current downstream. And that's really the dominant reason why these areas do stay open. And they're visited heavily by a whole bunch of other critters like wolves and lynx that will come and investigate the edge of the ice and explore the potential for food. The other really interesting thing for otters here is not only are they getting a place where they can come and go from water and therefore get access to the fish that they need to eat relatively easily, it may also be that the fish are attracted to these areas because there is no ice cover and the oxygen concentration in the water may well be higher than out in the body of the lake, especially at deeper levels. So there's a really good chance that a number of fish, in particular whitefish, may be drawn to these areas all through the winter for feeding and for access to the oxygen that they need to survive, of course.
But when it comes to swimming that fast under the water, he's fast, boy. He'll make a wake on shallow water, eh? It shows up on the surface, and boy, it's fast. Yeah, I was watching it, where he jumped in and then swam. And boy, a fast swimmer. Yeah.
The otters are particularly keen on open water because it does provide that way to get into the water body to look for food, but also relatively easily get out of the water body to breathe and to do the other things that they need to do, like rest on land and find shelter and so forth. So that's their real dilemma in the winter, is how to get into water and out of water relatively easily.
Quite a thing to watch, where you see them either playing there or where they eat fish, or they'll do that, eh? I don't know whether other otters used that or left scent there or what was there, and then it only lasts a little while and then they're on the way again.
So a great deal of otter activity in the winter is focused on these open water areas. Otters can't stay at any one open water area for a great deal of time because they will gradually deplete the fish that are there and that are within swimming distance of the open water. So they'll come back to these areas periodically. They may leave them for a number of weeks and then come back and start feeding again. And the fish gradually move around in the lakes And so the otters are banking on the fact that the fish are moving in and out and will change in their availability over time.
This time of year, when different places where fish spawn, it wasn't only animals, but people. People put up fish there too. People come from different places, and they camp there, and they catch a fish, and then while it's they know how to look after it, and then they haul it home, and it's a change of diet, and then whatever they use it for, you know.
That's why every one of those fishing holes around the country here, we know where the fish are, so we just leave them there for later time when you need it.
And the whitefish are looking for a particular kind of open water area. Tends to be really quite shallow, with riffles over gravel and sandy bottoms. Those are the kind of places that they're looking for releasing their eggs and actually going through the spawning behavior.
And then at the same time, different animals are fishing too. Yeah.
When you get a concentration of potential food like that in one place, lots of different carnivores, predators love to come and get some of those fish.
Well, you get coyote, and you get wolf, otter, and they get right in the water, and they stick their head right in and grab them. At a certain place, they can do all right for themselves, and it seems like they don't pack nothing away into the bush. It's ate right there, and it's fishing time for them, huh? They say if there's no alpha wolf when it's breeding time, huh, then everything's it's different again. I don't know how they know or what they know about that. Even an owl was, yeah. They talk about it, where one place where a crow will catch a fish. That's the only place a crow can catch anything for himself. And you go there and he can catch a fish there. Yeah. And I know eagles fish there. The way it is there is that the crows go after the eagle. You know, they give him a bad time while he's trying to fly or whatever he's doing.
The otters are really focused and know when particular fish are most available.
Sometimes that you see otter, they bunch up They all travel together. You don't see it that often, but really something to see.
Many fish are particularly available when they're spawning because they're aggregating in large numbers in relatively small spaces. The otters learn these patterns of fish movement probably from their mother initially when they're very young, and from the other adults that they hang out with when they're growing up. And that passage of information will lead to a real culture of otter movements and habits through the course of the year. The hard thing for otters overall is making it through the winter, because those really intense aggregations of fish are really only found in early winter with the whitefish spawning. The rest of the winter, the fish tend to be more dispersed, and of course otters cannot get access to a large part of the aquatic world around here. Most of the lakes are frozen over completely. And the key thing for the otters is to know where they can get in and out of the water relatively easily. And of course, the open water areas at the outflow to the lakes is one of the key hotspots for otters in coming and going from water. But they will also know about areas where the ice is weak, and that includes some beaver dams. Often the ice is weak right at the crest of a beaver dam and immediately downstream. They will also know about beaver lodges where they can get into the lodge above ground and out through the bottom of the lodge into the water. These are lodges that the beavers no longer occupy, they've abandoned, but the otters will still use them quite often in the winter as ways to come in and out of the water.
When it's not so cold, they like to go in Snowden or underneath deadfalls, wherever they're nearby the place they want to fish for a while. But when it's really cold, it's usually you'll find them, what I've seen anyway, I think it's in the old beaver lodge. It's thermal, it's like a little cabin, so to speak, you know, because beavers figured it out a long time ago.
The otters have to know where these places are in order to get through the winter. And the fact that they do know these hot spots means that when they have to travel above ground, they will travel in very straight line directions between these points of water access. Sometimes straight across the open ice of a large lake, sometimes straight across the above ground forest between an open water area and a particular beaver lodge or another open water area.
The thing is they know the way. They know where a beaver dam is or old beaver house. That's their life.
It's really important for an otter to know where them air holes are. Without air, boy, he's finished.
Potentially, an otter could hold its breath for 1.4 kilometers under the ice, holding its breath. But the most I've seen tracking them was, well, actually underneath the lake I've seen 300 meters. But under the creek I saw 1.3 kilometers that I lost the otter. They were just went in that creek on the ice to an ice hole and just went up that creek all through meanders and everything and resurfaced about 1.3 kilometers further upstream.
I think they depend on right up on next to the shore where there's air holes, huh? And then if they're not sure, they travel on the surface.
These places need to be totally mapped, cataloged, recognized as key habitats for otters and other animals in the winter, and buffered in terms of a certain distance away within which human settlements, cottages, houses, and so forth, anything permanent, should not really be allowed. In order to give enough space for the otters and the other animals to still feel secure, using these open water habitats in the winter and avoid the disturbance from people.
Du ligger en dan närmare hästarna liksom. Helt är så du ligger igen i kläder igen där det är så. Samma. Du ligger igen. Och sen dan de läser det hon inte. Jag tycker jag. Och vi bara kommer där det.
That duly law is there for a reason. It's to help govern our people, to teach them or teach them to respect.
When you don't respect something, you're going to lose it.
In Genesis, he said he created the fish in the ocean and the creeping things of the land and the animals and how they lived. And man was to have dominion over that. Some people say, well, when the word comes dominion, they figure is a rule with a stiff upper lip. No. That's looking after it, and if it's getting abused, or if it's getting overhunted, or if the animal's getting a hard time, yeah, you got to look after it. You got to treat it the best way you could.